The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another podcast episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast. With us today, we have Bobby Davidowitz. He's a real estate coach, team leader, and one of the co-founders of the Alliance Group at eXp Realty. With an organization with almost 2,000 agents in over 18 states and multiple countries, and the movement and the progress continues. Bobby, or Bobby D, has a passion for transforming agents into business owners and real estate entrepreneurs. And today on the podcast, we're going to get a bit of that transformation on the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm honored.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So let's start this transformation. And we usually start with the real estate journey. So please, Bobby, spare no details. I know you went from Puerto Rico to entertainment to sitting in your chair today on the Icons of Real Estate podcast. So tell me about it.
Absolutely. So yeah, you're right. So I was born in Puerto Rico. Don't let the last name fool you. I like to call myself a Jew-Rican. So I was born in Puerto Rico, got some Jewish in the culture there, but moved to Orlando when I was 5 years old, grew up in Central Florida, and, follow the traditional track, let's get good grades, play sports, all that good stuff. And, but never really thought about what I wanted to do. It was like, oh, as long as I do these things and check these boxes, people will think that I'm doing well, right? Get good grades, do all that. So what happened was I graduated from the University of Florida and I realized, oh my God, I have this degree and I have these grades, but they don't mean anything. I really have no direction. And to be quite honest with you, I graduated with a 4.0, but ended up working at a nightclub because I was like, I really just don't know what's next. And, if you've ever worked in the nightclub industry, after a while, it kind of wears on you. And so, I was like, I think I'm getting dumber by the day. So I was like, I need to do something different. And, by the grace of God, I meet this guy who was opening up a mortgage company, and I'm around 21 years old at the time. And he's like, hey, you think you'd want to, do mortgages? And I was like, honestly, I'm willing to do whatever right now. I just don't want to be at the club. And so that's how I started my real estate journey. And that was over 20 years ago. So I kind of started there, immediately kind of got my hustle on, right? It was 100% commission business, very similar to real estate. So, it really started to get that muscle built that I didn't have to necessarily rely on an employer to have me make income. I could rely on myself, and I did pretty well. And then, the next, logical step for me was, oh yeah, I'm going to start a company, because the president of the company that I was working for was like, hey, we should break off and start our own company. And I'm like, I'm 23 years old thinking I know everything, right? When I really know nothing about business, right? So I go ahead and, get my mortgage brokerage business license. I started brokerage, and at about 6 months in, I realized that, oh, wow, I didn't really know what this was about. I went from just focusing on making money through doing loans to hiring, firing, doing books. I had my name on leases and I had liabilities, and I was just like, what the heck did I do? Right. But, once you're in, and we did pretty well for about 4 years. And then we had this cute little thing called the market crash. Right. So I kind of started to see it coming, and I was already mentally checked out. I was like, hey, I need to go pursue some other stuff. I've always had a passion for entertainment, being on camera. I've done everything from music production to video production to being on TV, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, this must be my chance. The whole financial world is crashing. I should go pursue entertainment. So I did that for about 7 years, and I got to do a ton of cool stuff, but I had to come to a realization. I had to be honest with myself, which was I kind of missed, well, I wouldn't say I missed my window, but I had changed. If I had gone into that industry at 18 and done the whole starving artist thing, I might have made it. I would have moved out to Hollywood. I would have done all this stuff. But at this point, I'm in my mid 20s, and I had already made income in the real estate industry, and it was hard to go back to just being broke all the time, right? And so over a 7-year period, I was like, man, this is a great industry, but it's just, I don't know how to monetize it. And so I ended up getting into the marketing and branding space. Worked with a good buddy of mine named Nick Nanton, who's a marketing genius, branding genius. Worked with him for a few years, but still needed to find what my thing was, right? I was still working for him, and he was honest with me and let me know there wasn't really another level for me there to take it. And I was like, what's next? And luckily, I've always been one of those people who believed in having a cushion. So if you're a real estate person out there, like it's always good to stack a little bit of money in the bank, right? Because you don't want to make a desperation decision. And I didn't want to make a decision based on paying bills. I wanted to make a decision based on what my purpose and my passion was, and something that was going to help me reach my goal. And I'm a firm believer that, you and I and everybody watching right now has the same exact goal. You're going to write it in a different way. You're going to write it like, I want to travel and I want to have a house or buy my mom a house, but really you want to live life on your own terms. That's what you want to do. You want to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And the only way I know how to do that is through financial freedom. And I knew that my next decision had to be leading towards that. And I was very blessed that literally, I literally just didn't, I literally just chilled out and said, when the thing finds me, I'm going to be looking, but I'm really going to commit to the next thing. And luckily a buddy of mine called me up and said, hey, I'm looking to start a real estate investment company. Would you want to do this with me? And I'm like, I think I was waiting for this call. And so that's what got me in on the investment and wholesaling side. But quickly I realized that a lot of those leads that I was getting on that side could be transferred into retail real estate. So I was like, man, there's something here. And so I ended up meeting a girl at the bar who overheard me. It was actually a funny story. So I didn't know she was recruiting me. She sent her friend over to talk to me, to pretend like she liked me, got my number. And then when I reached back out, I got the other girl, her friend, and her friend's like, oh, my phone, her phone was broken, whatever. She got my phone and she's like, but hey, let's meet. And she was really trying to recruit me. And so I went and I met with her because I was looking for an aggressive listing agent. I'm like, this girl's obviously aggressive. So and I ended up at this office in downtown Orlando, which at the time was a franchise brokerage. And I met with her that day and honestly got such a great vibe from that meeting and that office that I was like, you know what, I'm going to hang my license here. And throughout that whole meeting, she kept telling me, you have to meet my broker. You have to meet my broker. And I was like, that's cool. I'll meet your broker one day. No big deal. But ended up being that broker became my business partner. So when I met him a few weeks later, we sat down and, he was just a big dreamer like I was. And he had big visions and goals. And at this point, I'm in my mid 30s and I'm like, hey, it's time to get some stuff going. So I kind of grew, I started like everybody else did, let's become a top producer first, which is something that I preach to agents. It's like, I know we're on an EXP platform and I know there's an opportunity to build massive residual income. But if you're a new agent, you have to go through that first pillar of transactions to learn how to be an entrepreneur and get what I call short game money, because at the end of the day, bills aren't waiting for you, right? You got to get paid now. You have to have money to invest. You have to have money to invest in yourself. And so I became a top producer. But as I was doing that, I always had a heart for coaching and developing. And so I was always helping the other agents in the office. And one day the office manager was like, hey, Bobby, would you like to teach a class? And I was like, oh, sure. I'll teach a class. And that kind of started my journey into the coaching realm. And about 6 months later, my business partner, Gil, said, hey, why don't you start a program, like a mentorship program for the agents in the office? And we formed a program called the Talent Development Program. And that was the start of the coaching program that is now. I'm no longer the coach. Back then it was just me. And as you can imagine, with the growth of EXP, just became so much that I actually have a team of coaches and mentors now that run that program. But that was how it kind of started. And that's how my coaching game started. I was teaching at least 4 hours of seminars a week, and I was getting those repetitions. And then, about probably, it was about three and a half, 4 years ago, Gil came to me and said, hey, I want to be business partners with you, but I'm not sure what I want to do next. Like he was owner of a franchise brokerage, and, of those out there who've done that before, they know, the amount of liability, the amount of expenses involved with that. And just the not having the ability to help others grow like you can grow. And that was something that was kind of irking Gil. Like he just didn't feel good about it. And he said, hey, I'm not going to renew my franchise agreement, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. He's like, I might even just sell, and just get out or whatever. And I was like, look, man, it's your brokerage. But, at this point, he was actually the number one office for that franchise in the entire state of Florida. So he wasn't giving up on a crappy deal. He had something really great. So for him to say, hey, I'm going to walk away from that to do something else, was a big sign that things in the old model of real estate weren't right. And so basically, just blessing from God, there's a guy named Carlos German, right? So Carlos keeps, harping on Gil for 2 years, trying to get Gil to look at this EXP thing. And finally he got Gil to go out to Las Vegas. He's like, fine. He's like, you know what, Gil, let me just pay for you and your wife to go to one of these events and meet the leadership. And so Gil's like, all right, I'll go to your little timeshare presentation, whatever, I'll bring my wife. We're going on vacation, by the way, on your dime, but we'll go see your little presentation. Right. So basically, what happens is he goes into the lobby and Gil's like, I need to talk to somebody who's winning at this, right? Who's winning at EXP, and I need to talk to that person. So he walked into the lobby, he saw this older gentleman there surrounded by a bunch of people, and he was like, that must be the guy I got to talk to right there. So he walked up to the guy after everybody cleared and was like, hey, and I don't know if you met me. I don't know if you've looked up my partner, Gil. My partner, Gil, and I have very different personalities. I'm a high social I personality. He's a high D. He's like, get to the point. Here's the deal. So he walks up to him and was like, hey, he's like, hey, what's your name? The guy says, hey, my name's Gene. And he's like, oh, okay, Gene. He's like, and Gil's like, hey, are you doing well with this EXP thing? And Gene's like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And he's like, Gil's like, I heard you could show me the numbers on your phone. Show me. And the guy was like, oh, okay, let's get to know each other a little bit, started talking to him, and Gil's like, show me. Right. So finally, by the way, this is Gene Frederick, right? And this
I guess he picked a good one, right?
He picked a good one, right? And Gene, this was years ago. So, these numbers are like way low now, right? So he goes, so Gene's finally like, here's what I'm doing. And Gil basically looked at him and said, hey, I don't mean to offend you, but I'm not going to shut down my brokerage for $265,000 a year. And then Gene scrolled up and was like, no, that was last month. And then Gil was like, babe, come meet Mr. Gene. Come meet Mr. Gene. So that's how it all started. And Gil came back and he's like, Bobby, if half the stuff that I saw is true, we got to consider this. And so we researched it for about 6 months, and we just brought in all our leaders that we already had with the franchise brokerage and said, take a look at this, pick some holes in it. By the way, if you guys are in EXP and you're looking to if you're a big brokerage out there looking to make a move, don't do the whole Wolf of Wall Street, like, we're going to EXP and hope that people don't walk out the door. They will. You have to really involve them in that process little by little. Start with your leaders and go all the way down, because it has to be a decision you all have to make together. And we did it right. And luckily we had some great coaching through Jay Kinder. Jay Kinder was the one that actually told us that. He's like, hey, don't just walk in the room and tell them we're doing this big move, get your leaders in first, talk to them, get buy-in, and then roll it out. And so back then, about 3.5 years ago, we took about 70 agents into the model. And, 3.5 years later, me and Gil's lines up to, 1,325 or 26, something like that right now. And growing. And it's been an incredible journey. And I've been able to kind of work my way out of production and now focus on growing leaders, coaching agents. I run the leads team now called the Davos team as well, which our goal this year is to become an icon team. So it's just a sign that we're on the icons of real estate. Exactly. But that's where we're at, and we're super excited. We've got in Central Florida and Orlando, we have about 450 agents, and we're really focused on 3 things: personal development. We believe that you have to build a person before you build a business. We're focused on coaching and development. And we're focused on culture, right? And just having that culture of growth and dreaming big and taking big action and creating real estate entrepreneurs. And it's just been a crazy ride, man. So I know that was a long story, but that's it. You told me not to spare anything. So
it was a fantastic story. It was a fantastic story. You even include the seducing you into brokers and all. So that's what we want to hear here. It's the real stories that make up the value. And yeah, it sounds great, Bobby. Like the whole journey from, working at the nightclub to the market crash, to entertainment, to meeting a girl at the bar, to meeting then Gil, to then Gil being on a journey with his wife to meet Gene, it's a fantastic journey. And I think that's a very beautiful part of it. But of course, even more beautiful is the present and whatever is coming to the future, right?
Right.
And And yeah, so like, tell me more about the Alliance Group. Like, is one of the most fastest growing groups within EXP Realty. Like, and you talked about the culture and how important the culture is for you. So, can you do a little rundown? What is the culture that you're trying to create, or you're creating?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing people got to keep in mind, and what I've watched a lot of people build, obviously huge organizations, right? You got Brent Gove and they got 15,000, 17,000. And what I realize is like everybody has a way of building, right? And you follow your lane. Before we even got to EXP, we were already good at personal development, coaching, and culture. We just weren't on a scalable model, right? So when we got on a scalable model, what we did was just more of that. We basically, so we're kind of a hybrid model. We actually kept an office, which at first was really, really tough. And many of the big leaders told us that, hey, the model was built to be in the cloud. Like that's what it's built for. Like you should really leverage that. But with us, it was just one of those things that, because we did so many live seminars and so much coaching, we're just like, it was just a tough to get rid of that. So we're kind of a hybrid model. We build it a little bit differently. And I don't suggest this for everybody. Like I really think that there are people out there leverage the cloud-based model incredibly. And sometimes I envy them, because of the different expenses that come with it. But at the same time, this is the way we do it. And after we got on the EXP platform, I could say that how we build the culture is simply this. We set an expectation that you're going to become a leader, a real estate entrepreneur, and not just a leader, but a leader that creates leaders. Okay. And because we're so coaching based, we always give leaders opportunity to become coaches and speakers. So like, honestly, like if you go in our office, I've watched a lot of speakers all over the world, like a lot. And I'll tell you right now, we've got some great coaches and speakers just in our downtown Orlando office, because that's the standard that we set. We want people to elevate, and we know that the way to continue this culture growing is that leaders continue to create leaders. And that's what we tell people. And we're very much a growth culture. Like, I'm not trying to keep you somewhere you don't want to be. I'm asking you, what do you want to do? And how can I help you? Right. So if you want to become a team leader, I'm going to coach you on becoming a team leader. If you want to be a great independent agent, we're going to coach you on that. If you're ready to start building a big organization, I'm going to coach you on that. It's like, we're big on you not only doing what you want to do, but also building your own brand. As much as we call ourselves the Alliance Group, I'll tell an agent all the time, it's like, dude, if you don't mention the Alliance and what the things that you do, it's okay with me. Like, you want to build your personal brand, because I believe, I'm a big believer in this, and I think you'll agree with this, which is, EXP is brilliant. Look, I've been in business for a long time now. It's like, I'm 43 years old. So you can't tell me I haven't been in the game long enough to understand, right? I've been in 4 multi-level businesses prior to this. I understood a multi-level model. When I saw the EXP thing, I was like, holy crap, these guys figured it out. They figured out how to attach the power of a multi-level to what we were already doing. What's the difference in that? Here's the difference is, if you go to any other multi-level, they're forcing you to sell a new product. And that's part of the reason people aren't successful, right? It's like, I was an accountant yesterday and I'm selling vitamins today. And I got to convince you to start using those vitamins, right? And it's just like, it's a way tougher game. But real estate has always been 2 things: transactions and recruiting. If you're an agent, you do transactions. If you're a team leader or broker, you recruit talent. It's never changed. It's been like this forever. It's all they did was attach the power of the multi-level to it, and obviously give you stock ownership in the company, which was unheard of before EXP did it. All that being said, if EXP is the commodity, why? Because they can get EXP from you, or they can get it from me, or they can get it from Joe Smith in Idaho. So I'm a believer that you have to take the platform and build something special on top of the platform, something unique. For instance, you guys, right? You talked to me before we started this podcast, and you have a certain angle, which is search engine optimization. And that's an angle that you can bring to the game. Well, that's your thing. That's your special angle that you're going to be able to add to grow your organization on that scalable platform. And that's how we build our culture. And as long as they keep paying it forward and building other leaders, we know it'll continue into the future, no matter where Gil and I go, right? But, little by little, we're kind of elevating to those levels where we're starting to really just focus on growing leaders, which is so much fun. at the point where you can just, travel the country and help a leader. We got some big leaders up in New York, like Vincent Koo. And, that's a guy that you need on your show, by the way. But, being able to go up to New York and help him grow, and help his organization grow. I mean, that stuff is amazing, and to know that it will exponentially pay to do that is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And as you said, like, everyone has to create their own personal brand, right? If your agent that you want to coach, he wants to create its own Alliance group, even Alliance 2 or Alliance 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that's your goal. That's right. You want everyone to be like you in a way, like the way that you want to grow your business.
Absolutely. Duplication, man. It's the key. It's the key to wealth.
And yeah, as you said, like about us here at the Icons of Real Estate, and as we have this perspective with SEO, and it's incredible how the whole eXp Realty community is missing that, because it's a lot about social media, and they forget about where people are actually searching for houses. They don't go on Instagram searching for 2,000 acre villa in Hawaii or whatever. They go on Google. And right. That's why we're here as well, like helping realtors, helping team leaders and influencers also not to forget about this very huge part of business.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to a funnel boot camp that is talking directly about this. It's in Puerto Rico in a couple of weeks, so I'll be going there. So I'm with you, man. I mean, it's all the big leaders, like Mike Reese is teaching that boot camp. Mike Reese and Woods Davis, if you know Mike Reese, and that's he's on that. He's like, guys, you're spending all this money on leads for your teams. What are you doing? What are you doing to spend on on SEO as far as building your organization, like where people are actually looking? So that's the whole point of that. So I'm with you, man. I think you're on to something for sure.
Just watch out. Okay, but back to you, Bobby, and I want to hear more about this term that you have, and because you claim you're developing like franchise players. And I've heard this before, but maybe our audience is like me, and we need a little bit of a brief explanation of what is a franchise player and what that has to do with the business you're running.
So it's so cool because when I was in entertainment, I kind of had formed this name, Bobby Franchise, right? And the reason I did that was because there was a player for the Orlando Magic named Steve Francis, who they used to call Stevie Franchise. And I was like, man, that's such a cool name, because the franchise player on a team is like the LeBron, the Kobe, the Tom Brady, the person that people feel carries the franchise. Like, they're the guy that you want the ball in their hands when the game is on the line. They're the star player. And so I love the name, but I never knew how to really transition it into the real estate world until recently. I actually hired somebody to help me with my brand. And I was explaining to her, she's like, well, by the way, why Bobby, what's this Bobby Franchise thing? Like, what's this, whatever. Like she asked the same thing. She's like, if you're not a sports person, you might not know what that means. And I'm like, I explained what a franchise player was. And she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then she kind of came up with that tagline, developing franchise players in the real estate game. So basically, I want to work with people who have a desire to be stars. Right? Like that's the kind of people I want to work with. I've worked with all kinds of people, but I love working with folks that have the fire, have the passion, and just need that, that coaching, that tweak. Because there's some people that are, I consider like the one conversation people. Like, there's some people that, you got to dig them out of a hole for a long time. And I did that for a long time because I was the only coach in the office. And at some point it gets pretty tiring, if you're just doing that consistently. Like, I got to build you out of an emotional hole. I got to do this, just whatever. But then there's some people that are like, I don't need that, but I'm like right on the verge of something great. Right. But I just don't have that tweak, that guidance. And those are the type of people that I could sit down one conversation and say, learn their story, give them a plan, and then just go execute. And those are the people that, in 30 days time are doing like amazing stuff, And so that's really my niche. I really want to work with franchise players in the real estate game, or develop franchise players in the real estate game. And I have and then on top of that, I used to have an entertainment company called Fourth Quarter Entertainment. So part of the whole philosophy, obviously it's very sports related. I played football for 9 years of my life, So I really felt like sports was a way to play life and business. And so I really have a lot of terms that are tied to that. And the fourth quarter mentality is pretty simple, is that, if you play football, when you're in the fourth quarter, right? You know that there's 15 minutes left. And you know that if you're down, you have to play the game a certain way. You have to put everything on the line. You have to give everything you got. There is no more time left, right? But in life, you don't know when your fourth quarter is up, right? So you got to wake up every day assuming you're in the fourth quarter, right? So my tagline is the fourth quarter is now, right? So you need to have that sense of urgency that the clock is ticking. And you know what? None of us know whether we're going to be here tomorrow. So the kind of moves and the kind of plays that you want to make in life and in business need to have that kind of like, hey man, I don't know when my fourth quarter is up, but the fourth quarter is right now and I got to make some big plays. And that's kind of the whole, encompasses my whole philosophy. And that's what I really try to teach people is like, hey man, we don't have time to mess around, right? We don't know when the fourth quarter is up. The fourth quarter is right now. What do we do to make some big moves? So that's kind of the whole franchise player mentality, all that.
Yeah, but that's crazy, Bobby. Imagine your whole life being on the fourth quarter, like nonstop.
You can tell I'm pretty intense. It's very intense.
Yeah. Don't sleep.
Don't sleep. No, but I don't want you to take it that way in a sense, because there is a little nuance to that, which is, you still have to play the long game. That doesn't mean you make rash decisions. You still have to have long game goals. But it doesn't mean like you don't rest, you don't sleep. But you have to be thinking about making those big moves, and you have to be thinking about things, right? Like, hey, your time is not in the future. Your time is now, right? Now, you might have some big goals that are 5-year goals, and that's fantastic, and you're going to work every single day consistently to hit those 5-year goals. So it's more about an intensity for the game versus, just being like totally burned out. I don't want to burn people out. I want them to understand the kind of intensity they got to bring to the game. And that's really what the philosophy is about.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting to hear that word, intensity. And I'm a sports guy myself. I don't do football or American football. I do European football, which is what we call football.
Yes.
But I do the same as you, like I transmit like the same values and energy that I do on the playing field. I do that when I'm doing business, like when I'm doing meetings, when I'm thinking of strategies, and it's that intensity that you're talking about. I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
And people that don't do sports, they don't understand what you're saying. So yeah, let's just move on. So do you consider yourself to be a franchise player then, Bobby?
Yeah, I guess you kind of have to, right? But, a franchise player in evolution, right? It's not like there's no, I'm a big believer, there's no arriving, obviously I'm committed to play the game at a high level. That's what we're doing. But I have, one of my mentors says, I'm grateful, but not content. Right. So, I'm in constant evolution. I'm not batting 1,000. I'm just, I'm doing well, and I'm going to continue to grow. And so I don't ever want people to think that that's it's an arrogance thing, because it isn't. Everybody, to me, being a franchise player is more about having the mentality, because I can spot a franchise player that's not playing at a franchise level and say, you are a franchise player. You just don't know it yet. Right. And so I just believe that, I'm going to continue evolving, and becoming, better and better, continue to hit new levels. And as I do that, I'll help a bunch of people along the way.
Nice. Perfect. And yeah, Bobby, now, like, I would like to understand a bit more on your day-to-day basis, is this little section that you have. So like, what has been your efforts lately? So you told me your objective is not production, it's growing your organization. So what has been your efforts lately to do that?
So a commitment to social media, which I know it's part of it. My business partner, Gil Ramos, says it best. You can't have just one system running. You have to have multiple systems, right? Whether, social media is a pillar, so is SEO. So is, all these different things have to work in organization. I personally have never been a huge fan of social media. I kind of grew up in a time where we didn't have it, and I liked that time. But the reality is that it is probably the highest return on effort that there is out there. You cannot avoid this anymore. I have agents in my office that are solely making hundreds of thousands of dollars in productions through YouTube. because they're doing videos on YouTube and getting free leads. Like, you cannot, it's a consistency thing. It doesn't work overnight. But, basically I realized that if I was really going to maximize my return on effort, I really had to build that. So if you're, my Instagram, little by little, is starting to grow. I'm focusing on reels and stuff like that. And then really just, and also working on building the leads team. So I think that I've got a couple pillars going on, right? Obviously there's regular agent attraction, the social media portion of things. Obviously going to the funnel boot camp, I'm gonna put another system into place, for attracting agents, but it's more than that. I'm also running a leads team. So I'm still, my team is in production. So I have big goals with that. And I think that in itself is an agent attraction tool, because a lot of agents want to be a part of a team, right? A lot of people are like, hey, I want more direct coaching. I want more accountability. I want leads, right? So to me, that's one of the pillars that I focus on as well. And then growing the organization as a whole, just saying, because as when you grow an organization, there's two ways to grow, right? There's wide and there's deep, right? And right now, what the beautiful thing is that, with over 1,300 people in the organization, we have so many rock stars in there that you can imagine that, if you can help those rock stars get to the next level, they'll grow you deep, like incredibly, and they're doing it already, but what else could we do, right? Like, how much more could we do with those rock stars and have them continue to build their lines and build deep? And then, as I continue to kind of chip away at frontline, right, and put systems in place to get to build wide in the organization. And then I actually said that I'm out of sales, but I take that back a little bit. I do some, right? If a deal is interesting, I'll do it. And usually interesting means big. And but I'm also have another pillar. So this is why I love our culture, right? Because we're just thinking about income streams and growth. So I started another company with two other agents, agent partners in my office, Biagio Montaiuti and Deontay Lawrence. Biagio has been doing international sales for 30 years, which, by the way, I think international. You're from where?
Portugal.
Portugal, right? Yeah. So we're open there. We're open in Portugal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe that, one of the biggest opportunities in the future is going to be international. And so Biagio came to me and said, hey, I think we need to start selling international properties, blah, blah, blah. And at first I was like, man, I don't need another job, man. Yeah, like, I do enough, man. Like, I don't want to do it. But he started talking to me about the Dominican Republic and Punta Cana, and how he had a trusted developer partner down there. And so last year we went down there and took a look at the product out there for short-term rental investments. And we were like, holy crap, like, people need to know about this. So one of the pillars of my business is we're selling international properties, and specifically in Punta Cana and Dominican Republic right now. We feel that's one of the most stable countries, growing countries, easily accessible from all around the world. #1 tourist destination in the Caribbean, and we're selling pre-construction properties. So these are brand new built, everything from condos to villas that are managed for you and giving great returns. But the beautiful part is you also own it as a vacation home. So if you just want to roll down there for a month and stay in it, or even live in it, you're going to have it. And we have oceanfront projects. We have projects that are just off the ocean, but just incredible area, incredible projects. So we're looking to really explode that in the next 12 months and have that be one of the main pillars of what we do. And it could expand into other countries and other places. I've actually, I speak Spanish, so I've always wanted to go to Spain, but I've been told Portugal is incredible. Yes. So you might see me out there at some point. I can tell you that.
Well, that's very easy, because I say I'm Portuguese, but I'm actually in Barcelona, Spain. So it's like I'm always here and there,
Hey, man,
what's the name then of that company you were talking about?
It's called Beach Home Investments. So if you go to beachhomeinvestments.com, you'll see a ton of material and videos that we shot. And, our goal was this, is like, we understand the same way I would feel. Like, I'm the kind of person who's like, I know why people wouldn't buy in some place they don't know, because they just don't know it, right? So we went down there to film the videos, to introduce the developer and introduce the opportunity. So if you go to beachhomeinvestments.com, you'll see, the projects that we're working on and selling. So feel free to go there. And the cool part is that we're offering agents 5% commissions. So it's not just about us directly selling. We're bringing this back to the Alliance, and to anybody who wants to be a part of it. An agent can reach out to me and register, and then they can sign their commission agreement, get 5% on anything they sell down there. So, a good opportunity for everyone.
That's perfect. And I think like you already talked a bit about your objectives and beach home investments, but I always like to talk about like the goals that you have. We already almost meet 2022, but can you talk about your goals for 2022 and for a bit more long term than that in terms
Yeah,
of
well,
the Alliance Group?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a few, personal, well, I guess Alliance Group goals too. So definitely want to, working towards 40 FLQA.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 2022 goal that, I think is super important. So that's why we're putting different systems in place to do that, to make sure that we bring great people. And by the way, we want to make sure everybody that comes into our culture fits the culture, right? So, that's very important to us, we really feel it's a privilege to be a part of the culture, and we always want to attract the right folks to it. But so that's number one, 40 FLQA. The team, the Davos team, which is me and Gil's leads team, our goal is to have them become an icon team this year. So that's going to be big. And then one of the goals that I had for this year has already been accomplished, thank God, in April. So, as I said, we're a hybrid model and we have an office. Okay. But we've been leasing that place for years. And I knew about 3 years ago that we really needed to start working on finding a building, because if we were going to keep the office and keep a space, we needed to own it. So I went on a 3-year journey. Gil and I looked at 1 million properties, and luckily last year an off-market property came on board. Back and forth, the guy kind of went ghost on us for a little while, then he came back, and luckily we finally bought a building in April, 17,000 square foot building, and we're not ready to move into it yet, but at least we have our next home. So that was a really huge goal for us this year, and it just takes a lot of pressure off me personally, because I feel like, it's just like you're renting an apartment. Like you don't know when the landlord's going to raise your rent or the landlord's going to kick you out. It's like, you want to have that security that where your home is going to be and you own it. So that was big. So those are 2022. As far as the future is, I want to get us set up in that new space, get the culture and put more and more systems in place so that, Gil and I can continue to have a touch on our culture locally, but now start really seeing how we can expand to other places. So, we have leaders in other places in Florida. We have people in Puerto Rico. We have people in other countries. And I really want to get to the point, kind of that, helping leaders grow type of level, where maybe I'm not in the day-to-day, but I'm just going around and helping all the big leaders grow in the organization, including the ones that we have at home. I see some opportunities in different markets. Obviously Dominican Republic, we're open there. So, could it be that, we kind of start an organization there in Dominican? Could it be Puerto Rico? Like I said, I have the advantage, I speak Spanish, and I'm from Puerto Rico. So there's a lot of opportunity there in the future. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but, our next goal, Gil and I, is to get to 10,000, 10,000 in the organization. So, we feel like, okay, we hit our first goal of 1,000. Now what, not the next goal is 10, and how do we do that? And it is by some of the things I just told you. That's how we can grow to that, by helping others grow.
Yeah, get 100 franchise players, you'll get those 10,000.
Over. It's over.
But yeah, I think you're on the right path for that, Bobby. And tell us, like, how can our audience reach you? Maybe there's someone out there that's looking forward to working with you and has been listening to the episode, your funny stories, your value, and he wants to get in touch with you. This is the moment that they have to pay attention.
So as I mentioned, I'm building up my Instagram, right? So best way to reach me is just to go to Bobby Franchise on Instagram. Keep it simple. Go there, direct message me anytime. I'd love to talk to you. Like, I love helping people grow. I'm doing a lot of videos on there for people that want to watch. It's, I'm basically, all my videos are less than a minute. They're all reels. And basically I'm either training agents or, talking to brokers, or whatever the case may be. So it's like a quick value add for, 55 seconds, and that you can get there. But that's how you can reach me, Bobby Franchise on Instagram.
All right, Bobby Franchise. Thank you. Thank you very much for this episode. I think we had a great time here. And yeah, it's a golden one for us to share with our audience. And yeah, watch out for us as icons of real estate, but also watch out here for Bobby D because he's going places.
You too, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care, man.